Sweet dreams all made up these. Yo, what's good? We back at it. Your boy said that the scales will prevail. We had to do another video. We starting off this series actually with the archetypes of all of the ascendant signs. So we're gonna go from Aries all the way through Pisces, which is 12 ascendant signs, and we're gonna talk about balancing out your polarities on the different houses, basically. So we're gonna start off with an Aries Ascendant, as this is gonna be the archetype. Normally, most modern or Western astrologers go by Placidus house systems, as this is a very popular system. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use whole sign houses systems. The reason being is because this is going to be able to reach more people. Now, if you're accustomed to using Placidus, don't worry about it. This should still resonate with you. The only difference is that you may have, for instance, like house, basically like it could be like intercepted houses or duplicated. Intercepted just means that a sign could be inside of a whole house. Duplicated can also mean that a sign basically can be on two house cusps. Like say for instance, you got Taurus on the second house cusp and the third house cusp. So it can range out. But we're going to use whole sign houses, so each sign is going to belong to each house. So we got Aries is going to be 30 degrees, it's going to fit into the first house. Taurus in the second house. You got Gemini in the third house. If you can see this, let me come over here, excuse me. Y'all can see that? Yeah, you got Gemini. I need to make sure y'all can see. Let me come over here actually. Not bad. So Gemini in the third house, if you can see that. Cancer on the fourth, Leo on the fifth, Virgo on the sixth, Libra on the seventh, Scorpio 8th, Sagittarius 9th, Capricorn 10th, Aquarius 11th, and Pisces on the 12th house. So we're going to talk about each of these signs and their polar opposite signs and the different houses basically, or in the opposite houses. Sometimes they call them sister signs as well. So yeah, let's get it started. So this is for my Aries ascendants. You guys will be the type that first house represents physical appearance. It represents, I like to say, it's how you act, because it's what's known as the mask in terms of what we wear. So you basically are the type that's even your outlook on life is very action orientated. You know, Aries is a sign of action. You could be very independent, very impulsive at times, very much of a go-getter, a leader, a pioneer. These are the positive sides. Negative side is a bit selfish, maybe a bit dominant, it's ruled by Mars. Mars is the god of war, so you guys can be a bit impulsive, but maybe combative at times, you know what I mean? Because this is a warrior type of energy. This is how you come off. You do your own thing at times. You may rub people the wrong way, you know what I mean? Because you guys could be very straightforward. Again, you could be competitive too, right? Independent, selfish. Those are keywords. So, in the house of relationships, this is how you need to be in your relationships, because you're a bit independent and you do your own thing, and a bit straightforward and competitive. You need to be a Libra in your house of relationships or partnerships. You need to be balanced. You need to be harmonious. You need to be fair in your relationships. If you're overly aggressive, independent, a bit selfish in this area. Now, on the flip side, how we balance out these areas is if you're vibrating more in this polarity to where you're more fair, relationship orientated, peaceful, harmonious, you need to get back to being a bit more independent and kind of having the courage and bravery within yourself, basically. Of course, planets can change it. Like say you might have a stellium in a certain house, so you'll have a lot of energy within that house, but this is just the overall theme. So again, fairness, being a diplomat, because Libra is a sign of the diplomat, is peaceful. If you're being a bit more selfish, and if you're being too overly in your partnerships, you're being too fair, get back to being a bit more independent and kind of direct, straightforward, that of a go-getter as well. Now, Taurus on the second house, right, versus Scorpio on the 8th house. When you got Taurus on the second house, you know, you value stability, you value security, you value getting to the money. You could take a more slow approach in this area. And this house represents values and our own self-esteem too, but values and resources, right? Our money, our possessions. So you may be a bit more fixated, because Taurus is a fixed sign. It could be very stuck or stubborn on certain things. So when it's coming to the house of resources, you may be more fixated on your possessions, on your own resources. You want to be more stable with your own, and reliable, basically. Stable and secure with your own money situation, your own finances, even the things you value. So this is why opposite of that, in the 8th house, you need to go through deep change and transformation. You need to transform in your intimate life, which is all what the 8th house represents. Now, if you're transforming too much, if you're changing too much, going through death and rebirth in your intimacy, or in your intimate life with intimate partners, then you need to get back to kind of being kind of stable and secure with your own values, the things that you value, and your own self-stability. I like to say wherever Scorpio is at is sometimes when we attract fuckery, it's like chaos, so it could be with intimate partners. Maybe even power struggles, even with sharing your own resources, because this house represents shared resources, right? And wherever Scorpio is at is when we attract kind of with chaos. So you may move more privately, actually, when it comes to sharing your resources with others. You may be a bit more private or secretive if you are finding that you do attract fuckery from people that you're intimate with. So if that's the case, then you need to get back, 2nd house, you need to get back to being kind of stable again with your own values and your own resources. 3rd house, we got Gemini versus Sagittarius in the 9th house. When you got Gemini in the 3rd house, this house can represent thinking, communication, siblings, your immediate neighborhood, how you move about in your immediate neighborhood. So you move like a Gemini, you're very mobile, very much on the go in your neighborhood, right? Your mindset can be a bit scattered too at times. And it could be a variety of different interests that you have and that you think about as well. But if we get back to this 9th house, you need to being the fact that you could be kind of like, Gemini represents a sign of communication. So it could be a lot of communication, and your mind may be in this area, which represents siblings and relatives, neighbors. So it could be a lot of communication, but Gemini is kind of a fickle energy. So it's not the deepest sign, basically, in terms of the energy that's present in this sphere. You know, siblings, relatives, neighbors, and in your neighborhood. But it could be a lot of communication here. Now, 9th house, you need to go towards growing and expanding in your beliefs, your philosophy, even like spirituality or religion. You need to make sure that just want to make sure it's still running. You need to make sure you're growing in this area. This house represents long distance journeys, could be overseas as well, versus your immediate neighborhood, short distance travels. So if you're over expanding, because Sag represents growth and expansion, if you're expanding and growing, going on long distance journeys, right, then you need to make sure that you're being a Gemini, and 3rd house matters, so you're communicating. Gemini is a sign of communications. You need to make sure if you're traveling, expanding, overseas, foreign journeys, make sure you're maintaining communication with people in your neighborhood, or this can be, this can be siblings, relatives, neighbors, things of that nature. Now also, I said Gemini is a very mobile, on the go sign, so if you're exploring, maybe exploring more so goes with Sag, but if you're being very mobile in your neighborhood, because you can be very curious, right? Then you need to get to, again, expanding on long distance journeys, and even in philosophy and traveling, higher education too. That's how you balance out the energies. Cancer on your 4th versus Capricorn in your 10th house. You guys, you guys come off as the mother of the home. You want to nurture and basically be the mother of your home life, your family life. So if you're doing that too much, then this is saying wherever Capricorn is at is where we need to be responsible and reliable. So you need to be responsible and reliable for your career, which is the 10th house, your status basically. And opposite of that, if you're the type that's being responsible and reliable in your career, then you need to get back to nurturing and kind of like having that maternal energy, being the mother of 4th house. And that means even if you're a guy too. We're just talking about energy. We're not talking about sex per se. So let's get to the Leo on the 5th house versus Aquarius on the 11th house. I'll start with Aquarius in the 11th. You come off as very unique, very different, maybe kind of like rebellious. You may require some freedom with your friends, or it could be like an aloofness, a detachment, right? But you feel like the unique one, the oddball out. So this is why 5th house is self-expression, kind of like our personality, as this is the house of the sun in Leo. So this is why you want to be seen and noticed, basically, in terms of just how you come off, or you self-express like a Leo. You because you feel a bit unique and different amongst groups of people, friends, 11th house. This house also represents dating and children. So Leo is the king, so if you it tells us that you could want to be seen or want attention or want to be noticed in your dating life, even around kids. You may want it to revolve around you. So this is why opposite that in 11th, when it comes to your dating life and children, opposite Aquarius is a sign of progressiveness. So make sure you're progressing and with friends, you know, things of that nature. And this house is also, I didn't mention this, but this is goals, aspiration. This is fun and pleasure, 5th house. So, you know, you could be very much the life of the party when it comes to fun. Leo is like the center of attention. So again, make sure if you're overly doing in this area and doing that, you want to get to progressing in your goals and aspirations, you know, whatever that may look like for you. Let's go to Virgo on the 6th versus Pisces on the 12th house. So wherever Virgo is at, I've told you guys before, is where you want to self-improve, versus Pisces is where you want to where you self-sacrifice. So you want to self-improve in your work, right? You want to self-improve in your work, your daily routines. So this is why opposite of that, this 12th house can deal with sleep, restoration, isolation. You need to make sure you're self-sacrificing and giving, because Pisces is a very giving energy. You want to make sure you're giving towards your sleep and rest, because you're the type that wants to self-improve in your work and in your daily routines. Also be mindful of being overly critical with coworkers and employees, as you can come off in this manner. When you have Virgo here, Virgo is a picky energy. Alright, so you could come off in that manner and you can attract that from other coworkers if you're being that way too much. So that's just something to think about, you know, balancing out these energies basically. Make sure you're giving to rest, to your sleep state, which is the 12th house. I think that's pretty much it, you know. Balancing out, this is the Aries archetype and how we balance out polarities in terms of these opposite energies and opposite houses. Sometimes they like to call them sister signs. And again, this is your boy Sid at The Scales Will Prevail. We got more videos coming soon. Yeah, stay tuned. All right, y'all. Peace.